The Troubadour. Sam Galloway is a troubadour. He moves across Texas and Oklahoma. He goes from place to place and plays music. He tells stories too, and he talks to people about their good days and their bad days. The ranchers and their families like listening to him, and Sam gets a bed and food and drink for his walk. On this hot summer day we are at the Meredith Ranch in Texas. The Merediths are good people and their ranch is big. There are always a lot of people in the house and there is a lot of noise. After 6 weeks with the Merediths, Sam is putting his things on his horse and moving to a new place. He wants to go to a ranch with strong coffee, good food and some quiet people. That afternoon Sam arrives at Old Man Ellison's sheep ranch. Mr. Ellison and his men are very happy with this new visitor. The men sit at a big table in the evening. They eat and drink well. Then they listen to Sam's stories and his music. Mr. Ellison always wants to hear Sam's story about an old boat, and Sam tells every evening. Mr. Ellison is a good rancher, but he is getting old. Now he has problems with his sheep and with the bank. He doesn't always have money for a lot of food and drink. He can't buy things for his house and his ranch. Every day he thinks about his problems. What I am going to do, the old man thinks. But at night he listens to Sam Galloway's music and stories and he smiles. He thinks, tomorrow is going to be okay. But it isn't okay. In the morning, Mr. Ellison gets all his horse and goes to the fields. He wants to look at his sheep. On the road he meets a tall young man on a horse. "Good morning, Mr. Ellison says. "Good morning," the young man says. "Are you Peter Ellison?" "Yes, I am," Mr. Ellison says. "What can I do for you?" "My name is James King, but people usually call me King James. There are many fields. I don't want you sheep here. Move them or they are going to be dead sheep." "But Mr. King, I don't have," Mr. Ellison starts to say. "You have 1 week, Mr. Ellison, 7 days. Goodbye," James King says. Mr. Ellison arrives home in the early evening. He is quiet and his eyes are unhappy. After a little food he sits with Sam Galloway at the table. "Sam, play some music, please." "Okay, Mr. Ellison, but why are you unhappy this evening?" "Problem?" Sam asks. A troubadour knows about ranchers' problems. "Yes, a very big problem. His name is James King." "Oh, James King, King James. I know about him. People talk about him on every ranch in Texas. He has a lot of animals and he has money in every bank in the country. He is a difficult man. Don't go near him," Sam says. "That is the problem," Mr. Ellison says. "My sheep are in James King's fields and he doesn't want them there. I don't have any good fields for sheep, but that is not your problem. Please play some music for me." Sam plays his music, but he watches the old man. King James is going to be a big problem for old Mr. Ellison. In the morning, Mr. Ellison goes to the store and to the bank. He is looking for an answer to his problem. He talks to some ranchers, but he can't find an answer. In the morning, Mr. Ellison is looking at his sheep. Suddenly, King James comes across the field to him. "Good afternoon, Mr. Ellison," the young man says. "I want to talk to you. It's important." "I'm sorry, Mr. King. I don't have a place for my sheep. I am looking for a new field for them," Mr. Ellison says. "I don't want to talk about the sheep. I have some questions for you. First, are you from Jackson, Mississippi. Yes, I lived there for 21 years, Mr. Ellison answers. Do you know the Rivers family in Jackson? Mr. King asks. Yes, I do, Mr. Carolyn Rivers was my only sister. Mr. Ellison, please listen to my story. I can remember an important day in 1902. It's a cold winter day and I am only 15 years old. I arrive in Jackson with no family, no food and no money. Mrs. Carolyn Rivers sees me on the street and takes me to her house. She gives me food, a heavy coat and good shoes. Then she finds a job for me at the Jackson Hotel and every Sunday for 5 years I go to her house. She is my friend and my family. In 1907 I have some money in the bank. I talk to Mrs. Rivers about my plans. She listens and she gives me some money and a gold watch. I say goodbye and then I go to Texas. I buy my first field and 4 sheep. Today I have a lot of fields and a lot of sheep because Mrs. Carolyn Rivers was good to me one day in 1902. I want to be good to you too. I have a lot of fields. Your sheep can stay here. And do you have any problem with money? King James asked. The old man tells the young man about his problem with the bank and with the ranch. You aren't going to have any problem after day. I am going to put 2,000 in the bank for you tomorrow morning. I am going to talk to Mr. Brooks at the store, buy the things for your house and your ranch. I am going to give Mr. Brooks the money for them. You are Mrs. Carolyn Rivers' brother. That is very special to me, King James says. Mr. Ellison goes back to his ranch with a smile on his face. He wants to hear some music, but Sam Galloway isn't in the house. In the evening, Mr. Ellison is drinking coffee at the table. The door opens and Sam walks in. Hello, Sam, Mr. Ellison says. You are very late. Did you go to Frio for the day? Play some music for me, please. I am a happy man, and tomorrow is going to be a new day. But Sam doesn't play any music that night. He sits at the table and looks at Mr. Ellison. I went to Frio and I looked for King James. I had your big knife in my coat. He was in the hotel behind the theater. His hand moved to his knife, but I was quick. You aren't going to have any problem with him tomorrow. He is dead, Sam says. Mr. Ellison is quiet. Then he looks at Sam and says, Can you play some music now? I can understand things this evening, maybe tomorrow.